I think the first thing is to be aware of what they're doing. I mean, if you don't know that you're doing it, then you can't fix it. And if I may, I'll just give an example. You know, a guy goes into the boardroom and he's got his briefcase either full of a computer, with inside just a computer and a pen, and he goes in, he puts a briefcase down by his chair and sits at the table. A woman will come in with a briefcase and a handbag, and inside the briefcase things will be zipped up, as they will be inside her handbag. So she might take out a pen, for instance, and unzip it from the pouch it's in, and then take out the computer and unzip that, then take off her jacket. She's already making more moves. And since we judge people on the moves they make, senior people make less movements, already she's going down in people's estimation. So what I'm helping women to do in particular is not to make less movements, because that would be artificial. What I'm helping them do is to become more regal in their movements. The less distractive your clothing is, the more you're going to say something and be listened to. For instance, we know that when people are doing presentations on stage and they're female and they're overtly sexy, perhaps Pamela Anderson or something, people remember the person but not the message. And the reverse is true. If you're not so memorable as a female, then people will remember the message and not so much you. So you have to decide which one of those you are, really.
I see you've got your book with you.
I have.
Can you talk to us about this a bit?
Yes, this is a book, my latest book. It's called The Future of Body Language. Yes, and what this book does, it takes 3 age groups through how to behave in the future, which is really over multimedia, of course. And the 3 age groups include baby boomers, which I'm afraid I'm one of. They're people born from 46 to 64. And baby boomers are really good at face-to-face communication because that's how they were brought up. And then we've got Generation X that follows them. And Generation X actually compromise body language because what they do is they use text, email and the telephone. They're not really interested in talking face-to-face to anyone. So
they have to relearn from
Absolutely, yes. And then the generation behind them, Generation Y, is something else again. They will have handheld computers, everything's very speed conscious, and their difficulty seems to be in handling other generations. They're very good at interacting in their own generation, but you put someone from Generation Y and myself in the same room and they're hesitant in the main to talk to me. So those 3 groups are taken through the different disciplines that you need to be good in business. Okay, I think the simplest example I can give you there is if you think about a tramp. You immediately know a tramp when they're walking along, when they're sitting down. They're slumped, their chest concaved, and their breathing is very, very shallow. And they move very, very slowly. And in order to reverse that, you need to stand up straight, be elevated, take deeper breaths, probably from deeper in your body, and longer breaths. Keep your head held high, and of course your shoulders back, as if you've got a piece of string pulling your 2 shoulder blades closer and closer to each other. That in itself will change your chemistry in your body and change your behaviour. I don't know if you noticed the difference in my voice when I was the difference up here. So it changes everything in your body, your voice, the tenure of your voice, and how you portray yourself. Yes, I think if we go back to talking about being regal for women, let's take one for there and one for being getting promoted. So if we look at women, one of the key things that they can do is to imagine they have a crown on their head. So you imagine you have a very heavy jewelled crown on your head. If you like to try it now, you'll feel that your back immediately straightens. You then are forcing yourself to balance the crown, so your head is in a very strong position and the whole of your spine is in line, because you couldn't have a crown on your head if it wasn't, because it would slip off or something like that. And that, if you imagine that when you go on stage or go into a boardroom, you are actually going to be very regal. You're going to display and emanate those behaviours, and it gets picked up very, very quickly. And one to do if you're feeling a bit depressed and unsure before you go for an interview is to just tilt your head back so that your mouth is in line with the ceiling, and just smile and just hold that for about a minute if you can. Think your worst thought, push that through your head, and just keep thinking that worst thought and looking at the ceiling and smiling, and eventually that thought just melts. Okay. Nothing happens. The thought becomes irrelevant. So it could be, I'm worried about going for this interview for this job. It could be, I'm scared of meeting my boss and asking for a rise, something like that. If you just have that thought, tilt your head back, the chemistry in your body changes and the problem becomes less important. And it's worth doing. It only takes 3 minutes. Even if you have to do it in the bathroom before you go to the interview, it's something I would recommend highly.